Hello, Bernadine. Thank you very much for coming along to talk to me today. So this is another little video in the Science Room series for International Women's Day, where we're talking to a range of women who are working across the STEM fields. And so Bernadine Maguire, Bernadine works as an associate consultant in England with a company called AECOM, and hasn't always been down the associate consultant route. Started out life in the same course as myself with a BSc in Queen's studying zoology, and then after that went on to do a master's in coastal and marine resource management in the University of Portsmouth and a graduate diploma in river and coastal engineering in the University of the West of England. And interspersed with years out traveling and time spent working in councils and in local government. Currently, Bernadine is project manager for a major flood risk project, and it's based in South England with the Environment Agency. So a massive range of experience there, academic experience, graduate experience, and a huge amount of working in the public sector and consultancy experience there. So Bernadine, what got you interested and involved in working in flood risk management field?
Thanks, Karen. Well, to be honest, I kind of fell into it. I never really kind of left university thinking, oh, I really do want to go and do engineering. Never, even from school, never even thought that was kind of an option for me. So I happened to get a job with Southampton City Council, and as part of that was to do my master's course. And that was kind of in the field of coastal management, coastal engineering. So I started out my career doing that, and as things developed, new pieces of legislation were coming out in terms of flood risk management, the responsibilities that councils had to develop. And as part of that, I was then exposed more to flood risk management and this kind of ever expanding field. And then I gradually then once I did my master's, I went on to do my graduate diploma in river and coastal engineering. Mainly just so that I was an intelligent client rather than necessarily being an engineer myself. So I kind of never really set out thinking, oh yes, I can definitely work in the field of engineering, that's what I want to do. I completely just kind of fell into it, and yeah, I've been really lucky in that regard.
And why in particular have you decided to go down the consultant route rather than working in an engineer firm or academia or anything?
So I started my career with Southampton City Council, so that's local government, and taking on the responsibilities that they had in coastal management and flood risk management. I did that for 9 years. That was great. I loved working there, but it kind of got to the stage where I kind of wanted to experience other things other than just dealing with projects in one local area. I wanted to be able to kind of work across a broader range, get more exposed to other kind of engineering type projects as well. So I decided to move to a consultancy where you do tend to work a bit more on kind of discrete projects. You don't get bogged down in a lot of the politics and the more kind of public side of things. You are very much about delivering a specific project. And that you get that sense of achievement, because once you finish that project, you kind of move on to another one, and lots of other opportunities kind of come your way. So there's lots of potential to get exposed to different projects, working with lots of different people. You know, you're not just working within your own field, you work right across the company within different disciplines, and that can actually be really exciting. And yeah, I've found that great, being able to work with different clients, different people within your own team, different people within other organizations as well. And other opportunities, like at the minute, I'm currently seconded into the Environment Agency. And again, that's just a great experience to be able to see what a different type of public sector organisation is to work for, but still having the safety net of being able to go back to your consultancy job. So, and because AECOM they are an engineering consultancy, and they do right across lots of different disciplines. So not just flood risk management, which the field that I'm in, but anything from kind of transport, planning, all the environmental aspects. So you really do get that potential for exposure to lots of different areas and fields of different disciplines.
Obviously your career developed in lots of different ways over the years. So for your current job then, what kind of particular skills or qualifications would you say would be needed for the current position you're working in then?
So the current position I'm in at the minute, definitely something like an engineering type qualification is useful, but not necessarily essential, because you can go down, it's not just the engineering route, you can also go down the more water resources type aspects, so the more environmental side. So it could be things like hydrology, any of those kind of geography, any kind of, you know, the kind of the softer, what we would consider the kind of the softer side, as well, because there's lots of different opportunities to kind of get exposed to different bits of work. There's other things like working within kind of the wastewater and the utility sector as well. So, but that's kind of more pure engineering. So anything kind of science or engineering related, really, any sort of degree under that kind of umbrella would, you know, you could get a job within consultancy. Other things for my particular role, I do quite a bit of project management. So any kind of project management type qualifications. Not that I didn't do that as my kind of major discipline, but obviously I picked up those skills as I went along. Lots of companies will kind of put you through training. So I've done my Prince 2 training, which is all about project management. It's a particular type of methodology for project management. So those are the types of skills that you can pick up, and employers are quite happy to, if you've got the basis there in terms of your kind of academic background with a degree, that all the other skills you can pick up as you go along, and also just learning from other people as well. You know, once you get your foot in the door in terms of whether it be a consultancy or in the public sector, there's lots of people who are willing to help you kind of mature and develop your skills as you go along.
So it's not just all about having those qualifications at the start, you can build them all up in the job, so long as you're willing to kind of keep pushing yourself and do those skills.
And actually, if you've got a willingness to continue to learn and develop, there are opportunities there that, you know, there will always be opportunities available. And actually, you know, if you're proactive, like I was, you know, there was opportunities there, but sometimes you have to go and find them. So, for example, with the graduate diploma that I did, that was being offered to people in public sector jobs, because there was a need to kind of upskill existing employees within local authorities. And I kind of proactively went and took that to my manager and said, can I please do this? It was like a 4-year commitment whilst working full time. So if you're willing to put in the effort, there are opportunities out there that you can take to kind of upskill yourself once you're in that role.
So then that kind of leads us into the next one. What would you say are the best aspects of working in your field, and the most challenging aspects as well then? Because everything's not plain sailing.
No, it's certainly not. In terms of the best aspects, I think it's working with lots of different people. You know, I've worked with so many different people over my 14 years so far. And it's the variety as well. You do get that within the public sector, you get variety, but maybe less so. But I've really enjoyed over the past 4.5 years since we're working with AECOM, actually getting that variety and working with different people on different projects, and kind of getting exposed to lots of different disciplines, and that constant ability to be able to kind of develop yourself. For me, especially, I don't like being stuck still, doing the one thing day in, day out. That for me is a complete, you know, I would be completely turned off by that. So, you know, having that variety and having that ability to be able to work on different things with different people has definitely been one of the highlights. Challenges, I think one of the big challenges is kind of around you know, being able to deliver projects within quite strict budgets and stuff like that. That can be a real challenge. So, for example, when I worked in local government, you know, budgets were always tight, they were always getting cut. So trying to be able to do stuff with very minimal resources was a real struggle. And now working for a consultancy, because it's much more about the bottom line, that can be quite a bit of a challenge, is that you're trying to deliver a quality product to your client, but within a set budget, and things always go not quite to plan, particularly if you're, what I find on Floodless projects, if you're dealing with modelling is a big can be a big headache, let's say, because obviously it's only as good as the information that you're putting in, and you're using a piece of software to try and replicate what is actually happening out on the ground within very complex systems. So that can be a real bit of a challenge, but there are always ways through it. Particularly when you work in, you know, bigger organizations, there's always somebody to kind of ask for help. And I think that's the important thing. If you're struggling, don't struggle on your own. Ask for help, be that of your more senior people, line managers, or the more experienced people. There will always be somebody available to ask for help. And what I find in this field is that, you know, people are willing to help each other.
Asking for help, especially if you're really struggling with something, is something that everyone has to do at some stage. How have you managed with setbacks and things then throughout your career, or applying for jobs, or even anything within your job? Those setbacks that everyone has at some stage, how do you handle them?
I tend to, because me personally, I tend to kind of hold things and think, oh, you know, I was responsible for that, or, you know, I really feel a responsibility in terms of, you know, maybe not being able to help and do as much as what, you know, other people kind of expect of you. And I think you've got to learn to know your ability, for one, to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, but also just be kind of open and honest with people as well. So if you're not going to be able to do something, so, you know, don't be afraid to say no. A lot of the time, you know, particularly if you're a doer and people know if they give you something that, you know, it'll get done, you tend to be the person that stuff gets piled onto, and then you end up being spread too thin and not being able to do anything good at all. Is being able to kind of say no. But I do think it is also finding that person or people that you can go and confide in, and that, you know, you can go and say, I need help, please, or this is, you know, I'm really struggling with this. Can you please help support me? And also I think it's about trying not to take, I know it might sound a bit crazy, but trying not to take things too personally. I did it at one stage, kind of, you know, let everything just kind of get on top of me, and, you know, I ended up like suffering migraines and stuff, and it kind of gets to the point where you think, yes, it's great, I have a career and I love my job, but you know, you're also working, you know, to have a life, you know, it's and your life shouldn't necessarily all be about work. So it's also being able to find that line between kind of your work-life balance and making sure that you get that in the right balance, and not necessarily do too much on the work. Obviously work is good and helps us pay our bills, but it's being reflective, I think, and trying not to take things too much to heart, but also learning from it. So when you do make mistakes, seeing that as a learning opportunity, holding your hands up. I mean, I still do it to this day, make mistakes, forget about things, and you think, oh, how did I do that? You know, why did I do that? And sometimes it's just because you've got so much on and you've so many different things that you're having to concentrate on, that, you know, we are only human, and we do make mistakes, and people do accept that. And if you are willing to go, do you know what, I've made a mistake, I'm going to learn from it, and we're going to move on.
So any words of wisdom then for young people, and in particular girls, given that it's International Women's Day, who would like to enter STEM or are thinking of kind of retraining to enter into STEM subjects? Any words of wisdom for anyone there?
I think if you want to do it, just do it. Don't there are obviously going to be potential barriers and stuff, but there will be ways to kind of overcome those barriers. And I would definitely say, if you've got an interest in it, it is a wonderful field to work in. It is so interesting, so varied, and it is really worthwhile. And yeah, well, I love it. So if you're in any way kind of science and engineering type minded, just do it. There will be opportunities out there. There always are. There'll be people that will be willing to give you a chance to you know, help you and to help you develop and progress your career. And I would definitely say, if you want to do it, just keep that end goal in mind and just keep working at it. There will be setbacks. It's not all going to be plain sailing, but if you're willing to work at it, you will be able to get there.
Fantastic. Okay, super excited now. And lastly then, the theme for this year's International Women's Day is break the bias. And obviously there's a lot of bias in different fields across STEM, and not even just STEM, but in many things. So where do you see the opportunities to break the bias then in your field?
So I think there's a couple of things really. I mean, my personal experience, I have it, I've experienced it myself when I was kind of fresh out of university, and I just started my job with Southampton City Council at the time. I just started my master's through that, and I went to a professional meeting with various different coastal partners, and I was there as the Southampton City Council representative, and there was a gentleman that kind of asked me whether I was there to fix the projector, and I was like, no, I am here to represent Southampton City Council. And he kind of, his jaw dropped and went, oh, I'm really sorry. It was just that kind of, if you looked around, it was generally, I think it was the majority male, and they were of the older generation, and it was kind of like that, well, a young female couldn't be here to be, sat in the coastal engineering profession. She must be here to do something else. So yeah, and it's kind of hard to deal with, particularly when it's like right in your face. But I think there are different ways, and I think things are starting to change. One of the ways that we could break that is around the kind of the gender pay gap. I know that that's something that AECOM are certainly trying to work on and trying to improve. And I think things are changing. I think it's around that stigma as well, that that these kind of STEM topics, particularly things like engineering, they are quite heavily male dominated, but that is starting to change when I see my team within AECOM. And it was, even when I first joined, there was quite a good proportion of us were female, and actually now the majority are female. There's more females than male. We still need that balance, because it helps with your working environment, and it helps to have a range of people from different backgrounds and different ethnicity, as well as from different sexes. And I think it's trying to get that balance right. But yeah, I would say that don't kind of listen to get sucked into the stereotypes that if it's engineering you have to be a male, because you really don't. If you're interested in it and it's something that you want to do, and there's many different disciplines in engineering and also in science as well, there's lots of different fields that you can go into. If something interests you, that will make your work life so much better, because you'll be happy to get up, go to your work in the morning, because if it interests you, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels more of a joy to do.
That's great, Bernadine. I agree completely with all of that. So thank you very much. And thanks very much for coming to talk to me today. And yeah, good luck with all your big projects. Hopefully with all the rain and flooding that we've been having, it's not going to be giving you too much of a headache. But yeah, good luck.
Keeps me in a job.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you very much.